Welcome back to my channel for a short Hasselblad episode. And this is a video I think I need to make and need to post because what I'm going to tell you in this video has actually triggered a lot of discussions in the last years in the channel community. Let's kick this off. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, support my work. For you, it's for free. For me, it helps to increase the reach of my channel. Many thanks. All right, what happened? Well, on the 2nd of July, all of a sudden, totally unexpected, a mail came into my inbox and it was from Hasselblad. And the subject of the mail is Hasselblad times Capture One, a refined workflow. And what it says is 2 distinct imaging names aligned for more assured editing. Hasselblad and Capture One are entering into a strategic partnership, marketing a meaningful step for professional photography with RAW support available for key Hasselblad cameras and tethered capture to follow later in 2026. And then the email talks about native RAW support, a complete editing toolkit coming soon, tethered capture. And guys, this is a game changer. This is something that hit me totally unexpected. And by the way, addresses an issue I've had for so many years. Let's set the scene. What do I have here in front of me on the table? Well, first of all, I have here my Hasselblad X2D Mark II, currently mounted the XCD90V, widest open apertures in f2.5, beautiful lens, manual focusing, scale here and metric and depth of field indication. I was shooting this camera lens combination last week with Stephanie here. Video is about to be posted, so stay tuned and don't miss that content. Now, what I also have here on the table is my Phase 1 IQ4 digital back. And this is, up to my best knowledge, currently the largest digital sensor with the highest available resolution. We talk here about a medium format sensor with 150 megapixel native resolution, is substantially larger than the 44 times 33 millimeter you have in Hasselblad X cameras and in Fuji GFX cameras. And I sold all of my Phase 1 equipment by now, but I kept the IQ4 because this is very valuable for me to shoot it on my Mamiya RC67 Pro 2D. And this is a beautiful medium format camera, of course, originally with a film back here. You see the film back here on the rear side of the camera, but with a suitable adapter plate, which was back then, it's years back, very hard for me to get. It's actually a very, very nice camera lens digital back combination because you shoot then 150 megapixel native resolution sensor with a very large medium format size on a vintage medium format film roll camera with beautiful and highly capable lenses. And I think a couple of videos on the channel about shooting the IQ4 on the Mamiya RC67. I'll post the links down below in the info box so you can look this up. But let's go back to the core and the essential points I want to make here in this video. We have now here Mamiya, we have Phase 1, and we have Hasselblad medium format X2D Mark II. What's underlying this gear here in front of me on the table? Well, let me tell you a story. In 1996, Phase 1, as you know, the manufacturer of digital backs, I mean the most modern I just showed you, the IQ4 was launching a software to support post-processing of footage coming from the digital backs, and the software was called Lightphase, and later it was renamed into Capture One. Now, with respect to Capture One, Phase 1 actually controlled the ecosystem, and they did this in a very strict way. So natively support, of course, was all raw footage from Phase 1, Leaf, of course, from Leaf Digital Backs, Mamiya, and also Sony and Fujifilm. I remember back then, some years back, sometimes with Sony or Fuji cameras, it came bundled with a license for Capture One. What Phase 1 categorically excluded and locked out of Capture One capabilities was all footage, all raw footage coming from modern Hasselblad cameras. It was not possible to import Hasselblad raw footage into Capture One. And a lot of pro photographers, in particular those who are in professional studio work, they found this totally unnecessary and also totally annoying. And it was seen as a totally unnecessary helicopter-like protection of phase one to keep professional studio work in their own phase one environment and ecosystem. Well, some older Hasselblad footage going back by decades was still supported, but everything that came from modern Hasselblad cameras, including back then the X1D, X1D Mark II, X2D, the X2D Mark II, which you've seen on the table, the camera body 907X and the digital back CFV 100C, also before the 50C CFV Mark II, and even from the older H6D Hasselblad medium format cameras, all raw footage was categorically ruled out to be imported into Capture One. And as said, including me, a lot of professional photographers who shoot digital medium format found this super annoying, totally unnecessary, and basically had to accept workarounds, which I'm going to show you in a second, if they wanted to work with Capture One, because Capture One, in my own humble opinion, is very likely the very best post-processing platform you can have on planet Earth. So whenever modern Hasselblad photographers wanted to use the excellent capabilities of Capture One, they were forced into workaround processes, for instance, like the one I have here sketched under point number 3. You basically take the raw footage from a Hasselblad X camera, has a suffix .3fr. You import it into Focus, which is the native, super tedious, super slow raw development software from Hasselblad. You export it either into a 16-bit TIFF file or 16-bit DNG file. And then after you have basically camouflaged the Hasselblad origins of the footage, you can finally import it into Capture One and then use the capabilities of this fantastic post-processing software. But the consequences are very obvious. You lose the native raw workflow, you have larger files, additional storage, you have extra processing steps in every workflow, you lose white balance flexibility, you also lose the native information-rich original Hasselblad raw file, you have fragmented workflow, and basically you are still to some extent locked out in a native way of the ecosystem which you could create if phase one would have allowed Hasselblad raw footage to be imported into Capture One, which, as said repeatedly now, categorically they did not. Now, between 1996, the very first launch of Lightphase, later renamed, as said before, into Capture One, and between mid-2019, also some events took place. And between 1996 and 2019, Lightphase and later then Capture One operated as the software division of Phase One. In June 2019, Excel acquired Phase One. It was, if I'm not mistaken, on June 13 in 2019, and Phase One was split into two independent companies, Phase One Camera Systems and then the Capture One software company. And from this moment on, Capture One became an independent software business unit under Excel. And now let's wrap up and then let's move on to the turning point, which was the 2nd of July 2026. And before the turning point, one of the best raw processing platforms in the industry was not available all those years natively to modern Hasselblad photographers. If you wanted to use, nevertheless, Capture One, like I did many times, you've seen it on the channel many times. A lot of people have dropped me comments on their pain if they want to use Capture One with Hasselblad footage. It led to a fragmented, less efficient workflow, which was, for all of us, super annoying. And now, from 2nd of July 2026 on, this very important milestone and turning point, all this pain will be over once and for all. Hasselblad and Capture One announced not only support natively of Hasselblad raw files within the newest version of Capture One, they talked about a strategic partnership. They joined forces to deliver the best possible raw experience for pro photographers with Hasselblad gear. And that is, in my own humble opinion, and correct me if you think I'm overdoing it, drop me a comment what you think. This basically opens up a new era in post-processing. What this partnership means, we have now native RAW capabilities by design and intention. We have maximum image quality. We will get finally a superior workflow. We will have tethered shooting in a few months and can fully integrate Hasselblad cameras in a tethered shooting environment into Capture One. And I've shown tethered shooting with Capture One a couple of times on the channel. That is just a different experience than anything else. And we finally will have the best in the world RAW development capabilities, fully open, fully available to modern Hasselblad shooters. I think the impact of this partnership cannot be overestimated. And what I personally also believe, I've said this many times in my videos, I'm not a fan of the focus development software from Hasselblad. I think it's just badly done. As good as Hasselblad cameras and lenses are, as bad as their software. But now in this strategic partnership with the leading RAW development post-processing software Capture One, we basically will enter a new era in post-processing. And focus, in my opinion, will be obsolete. I would be very surprised if not in the next weeks or months, we would see an announcement that support and further development of the Hasselblad focus system has come to an end. So this is where we are now. And July the 2nd, 2026 is a turning point into a new era of post-processing for Hasselblad shooters. And I will continue to keep my Phase 1 IQ4 digital back. I will use it on my Mamiya RC67 Pro 2D with this beautiful adapter, which I had to really put in a lot of effort to find it, purchase it, and get it. And we will have now full Capture One RAW development and post-processing capabilities for all footage coming from modern Hasselblad cameras. Now at the end of the video, I'm of course curious what you think, what your opinion is, if you have seen this announcement at all, or if you are now being made aware by my video. Drop me a comment if you have tried to use Capture One in the past with Hasselblad footage and had to go through these very tedious workarounds I described before, and whether you appreciate or do not appreciate that finally Capture One is open for business with all Hasselblad footage. If you liked that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel, there's always more to come. Thanks for watching, stay safe and healthy, and of course, peace out.